scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, gotta love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it.
You are now tapped into the coolest reptile podcast in the world. I'm your boy, MJ. What is good, everybody? Happy Thursday to all. If this is your first time tapping in, let me fix this a little bit. I don't like that. There we go. My backpack. If this is your first time tapping in, man, welcome. This podcast is run every Thursday night, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, all based around reptiles and whatnot. So if this is something that interested you, then you are going to want to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, dislike button, drop a comment. What is good to all my early birds in the comments? I see you guys. I'm going to say what up to you guys in just a minute, but you guys know what the deal is. For the freshest and bestest rodents delivered to your doorstep, that's going to be coldbloodedcafe.com, www.coldbloodedcafe.com, $30 flat rate shipping, day one pinks, all the way to the mammoth rats, dropped off at your doorstep anywhere in the United States. Can't beat that, I'm telling you. Shout out to John, shout out to Alex over at Sim Containers. You got eggs, put them bad boys inside of a Sim container. Thank me later. I've been doing all my clutches so far, even though I haven't had a late season. All my clutches are inside Sim containers right now, doing good. Just had my first clutch pip out, actually come out of the egg completely, and I'm super stoked. And I have John and Alex at Sim Container to thank for designing such a cool-ass egg box for your eggs to get cooked in. Real deal shit. And if you want to talk about real deal shit, shout out to Ashley and Steven, Flex in Texas, Focus Cube Habitats. The future of enclosures has arrived. And speaking about arriving, I am waiting for such a savage-ass enclosure built by them that two of my most famous monitors are going to be going inside of. Cannot wait to get it. I actually need to call the company to track that motherfucker and see where they're at. I'm not sure where it's at, but I know it's coming. Thank you to Steven and Ashley for supporting the trap. I appreciate you guys, and I will definitely be giving people updates on that enclosure once it's here. Best believe it, because I've been waiting for this bad boy for a long time, okay? And then shout out to Jesse and the whole entire Freedom Breeder crew for making the most professional stainless steel racks built in America. I'm telling you right now, you got a Freedom Breeder rack, you know where it's at. You're definitely on that level of professional snake breeding or rodent breeding, whichever way you want to go it. I'm telling you right now, Freedom Breeder never disappoints, never loses value, and that's a fact. Thank you, Jesse, for supporting the trap. I appreciate you so much. And then shout out to the big dog himself, always evolving pythons, always heavily motivating me. That's for damn sure. Guys, nonstop making moves after moves, which always gives me ideas on why I should continue to move myself. If you out there are looking for that bit of motivation, if you want to know how you could go ahead and spiff up your ball python projects or your YouTube game, this is your guy. You're going to want to go follow Miguel Garcia at Always Evolving Pythons. Thank you, Big Dog, for supporting the trap. You mean a lot to me, and you mean a lot to many others in the hobby. Shout out to US Arc, baby. Let's go. Push this US Arc all day, every day. They are fighting for our animal rights, and we should help them. Why not? I mean, there are animals too, right? So if you have no idea what the hell US Arc is, you want more information, go down to the link below, click on the US Arc link, become a member. And if you can't become a member because of financial reasons or whatever, that's no big deal. Just go ahead and do your research on it. There's ways you could help US Arc just by talking about them And I do want to say shout out to Phil, shout out to everyone who works and supports US Arc. Fight never stops. And yeah, man, we got to keep that going. And let's see, man, if you guys want to get a hold of me in any way, please, Instagram is your best way. And just give me a follow if you want to see what kind of work I'm working with. mjexoticscartal with an A, not an E. And if you want to go support the podcast Instagram page, that means a lot too. So shout out to all my Twitch viewers out there. I hope there's some Twitch viewers in the building. What's good? If you like to go ahead and support this channel further than a subscription, my PayPal is right there as well. So go ahead. And if you also want to donate anything to US Arc, you can go ahead and shoot that to my PayPal as well. You know, we all know that YouTube likes to fucking charge fees and whatnot. So anything that is donated on this channel, when I say that, like super chats, anything like that, any kind of money that's thrown towards this channel goes straight to US Arc. Just so you know, it's been like that for about almost a year now, and it's not going to change. So I appreciate all the support, all the love. And I got to say, I got to give a big special shout out to all my Patreon members out there. Thank you so much. My trap family is growing by the day. You guys are amazing. Some real loyal ones. If you out there are looking to be a part of a cool ass community and want to see what other people are working with and get dibs on some trap productions, then go down to the link below, click on the Trap Talk Patreon page, and join the family, man. Come say what up with us. Come hang out. We have a really cool Discord going on and all that stuff. Now, before I get to the early birds, due to the demand, a lot of people out there we're like, damn, you used to do vlogs? Yeah, I used to do vlogs. No, we're not that good at it. Just so you know. But guess what? I'm bringing them back. I am bringing my vlogs back due to popular demand. So tomorrow I am dropping my very first clutch that I've had this season, which is going to be revealed tomorrow on this YouTube channel. So check that out. Snake Trap Sessions Vlog 22, picking things back up. I got some interesting things to talk about. I have not done a vlog in over a year, and I'm bringing it back just because how many of you people have been asking me to bring it back, and why not, man? I got support, so why not show the support back? You guys are amazing. And yeah, what's good with my early birds? Let me see. We got Texas in the building yet? I got to say what is my Texans real quick. Oh, HB Reptiles, what is good? Patreon family all day. Right there, we got the General in the building. What is good? How you doing, General? Deviant Glass, who makes some really awesome glass pieces. This will make some really cool pieces. This is my go-to pipe all the time. So appreciate you, man. I actually need some more work done. We'll talk later. But shout out to the homie Deviant Glass. Nathaniel Daughtry, what up, Nathaniel? How are you doing? Savage Beauty Exotics, what is good? Hope you're ready for a good show. Eric Morris Factory, what is good? I hope you're. Oh, I'm ready, man. We are ready to rock. Sinful Serpents Exotics, what is good? Welcome to the trap. Phil's P&K's Exotics, how you doing? Piney Wood Exotics, what is good? The homie Jay Holdbrook, aka Barber Jay. He is the homie. He is in the building. What is good, Jay? Got the homie Chandler from Year Zero Reptiles in the building. What is good? We have some trap management in the building. Head of security, Calvin Garcia. This guy's a monster. I will be rolling tough with this guy at some point. You will see how big of a monster this guy is. But he's also a big teddy bear too. He's awesome. My boy Calvin in the building. Thanks for being here. Hustle 416, what is good? Tyler King, Trap Patreon family all day, every day. Another Trap Patreon member right here. Kevin, what is good? And let's see, we'll end it with Runyon Reptiles. How you doing, Runyon? Thank you for tapping in. All right, guys. Now, I've been talking all week about the Anaheim show, right? Because there's the Anaheim Super Show going down this weekend, and I'm super excited that's not shut down. But guess what? That's not the only show happening this weekend, which is awesome, right? And when I say shows, I mean the real deal shows. I'm not going to show any other shows, but there's some shows that aren't as good as others. I've heard a lot of good things about this Herps exotic shows, and a lot of good things about my man Shawn Gray. I had the pleasure of meeting him a while back, not in the best way, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But either way, he's here now. He's flexing Texas, and he's tapping in. Here he is, Shawn Gray from Herp Exotic and Pet Shows. What is going on, my man? How are you?
What's up, man? Doing good.
How you living, bro?
Tired as fuck. Just the hustle. Hustle.
You've been moving extra lately, haven't you?
Yeah, lots.
Okay. Damn. Well, we're gonna get right into that, man. But before we get started, tell the people exactly what your involvement is in the reptile industry, and if we could kind of talk about how far back this goes, if you don't mind.
For me personally, 8-9 years old. I mean, when I started keeping, I'm from South Texas, so I was always in the swamps catching shit, so
respect.
Started breeding bearded dragons and leopard geckos years and years ago, and started vending shows as a hobby.
Okay.
Felt like the shows weren't doing us justice as a vendor, sitting next to people with dead animals and shit, not my thing. So
wow.
I was actually going to open up a pet shop before that, and didn't work out quite the way we wanted it to. So 2014 started playing around with the idea of doing our own show. Launched our first show in Conroe January of 2015, and yeah, it's blown up, man. It's been good.
That's awesome. So 2014 was your first Herp show? Was 2014?
That's when I started coming up with the idea. It wasn't. Okay. Yeah, January 2015 was our first show in Conroe. Yep.
And Conroe, can you just, if you don't want to remind me where Conroe is in Texas, like where's Conroe?
It's north of Houston, about 35-40 minutes.
Okay, so you're no longer in South Texas. You're more up now, right?
No, it's still pretty much South Texas. Texas is huge. Yeah.
Why can't I? Am I not? I mean, I know Texas is big, but I guess I'm thinking of Dallas. Dallas is more north.
Dallas
right?
is North Texas. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sad to say this because I mean I should know this because I lived in Texas. I mean, it was only for like a few months, but still, but Texas is a really big state. It's humongous.
Massive. Yeah.
But let's go back to what we were talking about earlier. You're kind of coming up and realizing you're attending shows where people just don't care about the animal as much as you do, or maybe your associates or whatever. I mean, you were seeing a lot of neglect is what you're telling me, right?
Yeah. And we were promoting the show as a vendor. I was promoting the show more than the show promoters were. We were trying to get people through the door because I wanted people to come to my table.
Wow.
So it was just kind of one of those things where we saw a little bit of a niche in the market. It's also when true advertising, social media advertising was kind of taken off for real. Like people were actually starting to spend money on advertising through social media.
Right.
So we kind of learned a lot the first couple of years trying to figure that out. But yeah, I mean, we had some rough shows. We had some good shows, and Conroe's been one of the biggest shows in Texas for the past few years, honestly. So. And it's a hot show too, so it's a little different.
Yeah. No, honestly, man, and we're gonna dig a lot more deep on into the show that you throw and whatnot. But let's kind of go back a little further, and I want to know how someone even got into the position that you're in. So I know you were a part of animals when you were a kid, but let's talk about when real life hit you. 18 years old. What were you doing for work? Were you already working with animals for a living? What were you doing?
No, I went to school at UNT for a little while. I was actually an architect major, and then I was doing a lot of drafting stuff. And then I went to the Art Institute of Dallas, and then to UNT, and ended up, meeting a girl and having kids and starting a family early. And
respect.
So that ended. My ex-wife is no longer in the picture there, but my kids are. They're my heart and soul. So and then Lori is the one who runs the show. She's the love of my life. So.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, man, I started picking up on little things. Started picking up some dragons here and there. Started getting back into it after college and stuff. And I was working and just the normal everyday hustle, working my ass off. And then actually, my daughter, I have twin daughters. They're 18 now, but I believe Haley was 5 or 6 years old, maybe, and she got a leopard gecko as a pet.
Okay.
We went to pick up some redfoot tortoises for my wife Lori, and she used her allowance money because she had a little bit of allowance money. Picked up a little leopard gecko, and my wife fell in love with them. And I'd come home from work, and she goes, "Hey, we're going to look at this collection." I'm like, "What the fuck?" So that's what started me as far as breeding and vending shows. I was doing leopard geckos, and at one point we were producing nearly 1,000 leopard geckos a year. But we're not producing pet grade stuff. We were working on high end genetics and working with some of the top breeders and getting really cool projects and lines going and stuff like that. So then I was doing bearded dragons and chameleons and hognose and all that stuff. And it's everybody knows if you have that kind of collection, it's like having a full-time job anyway.
No, for real. So and what's okay? So you're saying that's kind of what got you started, right there, is when you started breeding those bearded dragons or leopard geckos.
Leopard geckos was what we started with, yeah.
Okay, cool.
And that was the biggest part of our collection. So we started vending these shows, local shows. We were traveling and doing some shows. I was working second shift and get home at night, pack geckos, leave at 4 a.m, drive 4 hours to a show, set up, work the whole show the whole day. Like it was crazy, But there was definitely an issue with some show promoters that just didn't give a shit, or they didn't have the power. The people who were working for those shows didn't have the power to change anything. So we wanted to do something different, honestly. And we wanted to look at it from a vendor's perspective and make sure that the vendors were taken care of, and we had the right kind of vendors and the right kind of quality, and go from there.
How far back do you remember going to a show? Do you remember, like, can you think in
Oh.
your head, like, how small you were when you went to a show?
Honestly, it wasn't until I was probably my early 20s that I
Okay.
ever went to a show. We had a little pet shop in my hometown that we used to go and like sell rough earth snakes to as feeders. We'd go catch rough earth snakes and sell them for $1 to the guy. And I remember one time looking at a book. He had a breeder book, and it was all black and white. It was just a list. It was probably from like Crutchfield or somebody, honestly, back then. But there was one color picture in that whole book, and it was a rainbow boa. It was a common rainbow boa baby. It was like $2,500 at that point. Wow. And I was like, holy shit, I'm going to own some of those. And I did, and I don't want to own anymore. I'm not a fan of rainbow boas. Everybody can have the rainbow boas, but they were my thing. But, I mean, that's what – growing up in South Texas, that stuff's around you all the time. You know what I'm saying? We caught stupid shit. We were out catching copperheads and stuff like idiots, and rattlesnakes and coral snakes and holding them like corn snakes and shit. So I always had that love and affinity for reptiles and stuff like that. So, and any animal, honestly, I'm just an animal lover, period. So –
now, let me ask you this. I mean, I know you got into the leopard geckos, but like, kind of, let's talk about what it is that you keep now, or what it is, or what, like, you know, what led after the bearded dragons and like the leopard geckos. Did you ever get into snakes? Like, do you have certain snakes that you keep and like to work with, or anything like that?
I liked working with the hognose. I love the hognose. And I did that for a little bit. As far as right now, I a blackhead python.
Wow.
My daughter has a couple of ball pythons and a sambo, and she's got a palmetto corn. Hannah is one of my other daughters. I have Haley and Hannah, but Hannah is actually the snake person. She takes care of all the snakes and stuff, so she loves that. But yeah, I never got into breeding any snakes or anything like that. I never did that. I was more of the gecko, and now I'm really into baronids and monitors, things like that. So
let's talk about your I'm so sorry, the twins, the daughters. What was it? Their names again?
Hannah and Haley.
Hannah and Haley. Okay, yeah. So, you know, raising kids, right? Like, obviously, at that point when you're raising them, you were doing like animals full time. Like, you're around. They were raised around animals. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, and my son is 23. I'm actually in his room because my wife's watching the Cowboys game, and we're in the hotel, but she's screaming at the TV about the Cowboys game. So yeah, so they've been raised in it. My son actually came on full time with us earlier this year. He's actually working with us, and my daughters stay at home now and take care of the animals when we're on the road. So, okay. But yeah, I mean, they grew up in it. They can probably tell you. Hannah knows more about snake genetics and ball pythons than I have ever even have learned. She's really good at it. Now, Haley's more of the mammal person.
Okay. Hey, okay. So I was going to ask you, like, you know, as far as like, how did you determine which one's more invested than the other? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, was it just something that you were able to like find out as they were getting older, or did you know right away one was going to be more of the reptile person than the other, or anything like that?
Yeah, I think, well, it's funny because Haley's the one that picked out the leopard gecko and went with the first reptile. And now she likes the reptiles and she takes care of them. She's great, but awesome. It's just kind of how they've evolved, you know. Hannah also was into ornithology and now she's into marine biology. So she's been more of the animal lover and kind of pushing that boundary, you know, as far as what she wants to keep and knowing what she wants to do. But I've never really pushed them into doing anything. It's up to them what they want to do, you know.
But like, you know, for instance, you're at the hotel right now and you have your whole family with you. Like, they're all there to support and try to help you out with run the show, or how much of the family actually helps you run the show and whatnot?
It depends on the show. Like the girls right now, Hannah and Haley are back at the house. They're taking care of the house. My son's here with me. Right. He helps me with the shows and setups and taking care of vendors during the shows and things like that. So, but they alternate. Sometimes one of the girls will come. Most of the vendors know all my kids. I mean, we know most of the vendors' kids. We've seen them grow up. So we run a pretty tight ship. Everybody's pretty, really, really close.
So last show I had my boy Rami from the Reptile Super Show. I don't know if you know who Rami is, man.
Yep,
but
I've actually been up to Pomona and met Rami. Yep.
Oh, respect. And I had such a curious question the whole time talking to him, man. And I'm just curious, like, as far as like what are the first things, what was the first thing you did when that crossed your mind that you wanted to throw a show? Like, what was like the next step? Like, after you personally convinced yourself you wanted to throw a show?
Wow, that's a tough one. basically just started researching and talking to my vendors that I'd been vending next to. I'd been vending with those guys for years. Started kind of throwing ideas around and then looking for venues and seeing if it was even feasible and looking at budgeting. And budgeting was almost nothing then. And I had a business partner at the time, and he was in the Houston area. So that's where I'm from originally, but I was living in Dallas. But I was working, stupid hours at my job. So he was kind of being the legs for me. And we kind of we went in together. I mean, I think his mom actually like loaned us the deposit check. No shit, just to get it. Because I was working and we were putting everything we had into it. We had barely any budget. The venue's super expensive. We had to rent tables. Like we learned a lot the first year before we put the show on. Then we put the show on and it was like a relief because it was actually a pretty decent show. Most people will say it was one of the best ones, but when we look back on it now, it was small fries compared to what we are now, So looking back at all the mistakes that we made has helped us get to where we're at right now. And then after that second show, the second show we did in Austin, it was just my wife and I, Lori, that doing it. And then she quit her job about 3 years ago to do this full time too. So,
whoo, respect to that.
Yeah,
man. I mean, I know I could use my wife's help, but she makes a pretty good check. So I'm like, fuck, I'm not ready to. I can't get her yet.
No, my wife was the VP of a medical recruiting company.
Jesus. So
but she worked from home, so she worked on the side with me to help me, do this. I had another back surgery. I had 2 back surgeries that kind of prevented me going back to work where I was.
Right.
So I was already doing the shows, but I was only doing a couple of shows, and I was like, fuck it, it's either go big or go home. Let's see if we can do this. So that was a huge leap and a huge amount of support from my wife at that time because she didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what was going to happen, so, but it's paid off. It's been fun, man. We've actually built an entire family around shows.
So the way you describe starting off a show is basically like jumping off a cliff, like
with a bunch of fucking rocks and shit. Yeah.
And you're trying to hit that little circle of
Yeah.
All right. Good for you. Yeah. Cause if it's one thing that I'm starting to realize, man, is like, first, there's not enough awesome shows. And that's why when I heard about the show, that's why when I heard about the kind of show you're throwing, I was like, I want to bring this guy on because you got to understand on the back end, you've had people who've had shows being thrown for years, had big breeders supporting the shows, and then do something fucking politically fucked up to the breeder, or just like show some true colors after all these years. Because if it's one thing that you said earlier that already stood out to me is like how you were attending these shows that were fucking terrible, had terrible vendors there, right? But you were the biggest promoter, like just because you wanted it to be. So you were like shouting it out. And that reminded me of Bob Vu and Repticon. Like the only reason why I even like thought of Repticon was because how much I saw Bob Vu talk about how he's at Repticon. Mm-hmm. And then to see him come out with a post like, yeah, no more shows at Repticon because they put me in the corner. You know what I mean? Like,
well, it's not even that. They did that to a lot of people, honestly. And he was one of their biggest promoters because he understood. He got it. He understood that if he promoted the show, when the first people walk through the door, they're going to come to his table and buy his shit. Right. And they're going to skip all the bad vendors. Like I said, there's always good vendors at every show. It doesn't matter how piss poor the show is run. There's some good vendors that still do those shows. I always tell people, go to every show. Doesn't matter who fucking puts the show on. If it helps build the hobby, but at the same time, those people who are ruining the hobby for us that are at these shows vending, don't give them your fucking business. I don't care if that ball python's $50 cheaper on that table. Spend the money with the guy who's putting the work in and doing it the right way. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of been the whole thing about our shows. We've weeded out a bunch of people that couldn't hack it, but Bob's doing it right. He was advertising for them, and then they fucked him over. That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
And that's what we were dealing with. I was doing the same shows. You know what I'm saying? I was vending 35 shows a year at one point and working. My wife and I both.
That many shows?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, we were hustling.
You're really doing it. You're vending 35 shows plus throwing your own shows.
No, I wasn't. That was after. I was vending shows plus my wife and I were working. When I started doing the shows, we both still had jobs. We vended a few shows here and there, a few of the local shows that we support those guys. Some local promoters like Malia and Otis and those guys. We would do their shows and a few other shows here and there. But no, we were trying to get this off the ground and see if there was even anything to get off the ground, to be honest with you. But it's grown, and we've made a bunch of mistakes along the way and learned from them. And now it's nothing but love. I mean, we, like Alana said, Herps family strong. That's something we live and die by, really. Man, we take care of each other, for real.
And, you know, just to capitalize on that, you know, and I don't want to bring up old shit, but if we could rewind just a little bit on how me and Shawn met, okay? Because
let me get my meth pipe. Hang on. Too fat to be a meth head, man. Shit.
I'll explain. Let me explain. Okay, to go back to an incident that happened quite a while ago where I had all this attention on Facebook going down, right? And, you know, for the most part, I don't really entertain Facebook too much, but shit was hitting the fan. Let's just say that, right? So, you know, I was working on myself then. I had a lot of anger. I still have anger issues, but I was really fucked up back then. Like, I was really, that day, especially that day, that was a really tough day. Let's just say that, okay? Because I had other people calling me saying, hey, I don't think you're, you know, I don't know, man, blah, blah. And I was just like, yo, shut the fuck up. But anyways, it was a tough day. And I did the wrong thing by jumping into a thread of comments of people bashing me. And you weren't even, the thing is, you didn't even say anything directly to me. You know what I mean? And I was just shitting down the comments, just boom, 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 boom. And what's crazy is like I don't want to mention the person who I thought you were, but there was another person who sort of resembled you. Doesn't look just like you at all. Because now that I put two and two together, I was like, oh my God, I didn't even have the right person. But there was somebody else who I thought you were that did something really fucked up to a good friend of mine. And my friend told me that he's a fucked up meth head. So I thought you were that person. So I called you a meth head, right? So I said something like, yeah, whatever, fucking meth head, you know. But then how? And then I burned so many fucking things that thread, and I ran away from it, you know. Yeah. But then when I found out, shortly after all that shit happened, I had a guest on, and somebody was talking about Shawn Gray, and I was like, Shawn Gray. I was like, who the fuck is Shawn Gray? Why does Shawn Gray sound so familiar? And that's when I go reference. I look up, and it's this guy. And then I was like, wait, I called this guy a meth head. I was like, is this the right guy? I was like, hold on. And then I go back and go reference to my other buddy who originally told me, and it wasn't, dude, this guy's not a meth head, not even a little bit. And I owned up to it. I hit him up immediately, and I was like, yo, this guy, you know, I've been hearing, it's funny how things happen, because not to say you aren't anybody, but I have not heard your name until after all that happened. And then like the next 2 or 3 guests brought up your name. And I'm like, dude, this is crazy. So, you know, lesson learned, you know, talk about living with your mistakes. But
it's water under the bridge, man. You and I talked, but since then, and it's
been great.
It takes a lot to get me worked up, to be pissed off. But shit happens, man. Shit happens, brother. It's all good. So.
But what I got to say on top of that is how much respect I was hearing of like, you know, the Herp family, like what you were doing and whatnot. And, you know, that's what I'm trying to say relating to earlier is like, there's not enough of you guys. When I say you guys, you know, Rami and like, you know, NARBC, like people who are throwing legit shows. And I could tell you there's places like there's people in Pacific North Washington, like that area, that are dying to have really good shows up there. And you have people who know a lot of people up in that area and want to throw shows. They just don't know what move to make. They don't know. And I know this because I have Patreon meetings, and I have people literally in my Patreon family that want to throw shows in their area because they don't have any good shows in their area. So that's why I wanted to mention that to you.
No, it's cool, man. It's hard. It's not, it's really not just putting on the show. You have to actually give a shit about what you're doing, and you have to care about the vendors themselves. I've said this a million times, and people have heard it, but the customers are coming to see the vendors. They're not coming to see me. They're coming to see the vendors. You surround yourself to put on a good show. You make sure your show has really good quality vendors that are going to take care of their customers regardless of what happens, and you're going to build a show. The customers are going to be happy. They're going to come back. They're going to tell people. When people have a bad experience at a show, they're going to tell people the same thing, you know? So you want to keep as many people in the hobby as we can. So a lot of it was just being on the other side of the table for so long and seeing kind of the shit that went down between other vendors and the promoters and stuff. And they were just, the customer was $1 at the door for them. That's it. They didn't give a shit. Right. And I hold and I've said this earlier this week on another podcast. I hold my vendors accountable. If there's an issue with a customer, they always come to me. They don't go back to the vendor for some reason. They come to me or Lori, and then I'm calling the vendor out saying, hey, what's going on with this? Let me know what's going on. Let's fix this. Let's figure out what's going on. And it gets resolved. I mean, there's always going to be issues. Nobody's perfect, you know. So, but there's a lot of mutual respect between me and the vendors, man. We really are. I mean, I can't say it enough, but we are family. We take care of each other. We really do. And
So do you? I'm sorry. No, continue.
No, I mean we raise money for a lot of other causes too, and of course, you know, we've done a lot for USARC too. I really need to get Phil down to back down to the. I talk to Phil whenever I see him, and I always hand him a few $100 here and there. You know what I'm saying? Like
that's cool.
But there were some issues going around with shows in Texas for a while where people were setting up claiming as USARC auctions, but Phil didn't even know about them. He never got any donations from them. So my thing was, you know what, just to stop that shit, that I won't do a USARC auction unless I have a USARC representative there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Not that any of our guys would take anything, but it's still, you know.
Right. So, I mean, let me ask you this, because what is kind of like your, I guess, your routine when it comes to shows and making sure people, like the vendors, are on top of their shit? Are you and Lori walking around? Are you guys like, you know, or is it at this point, do you have so many seasoned vendors with you where you're just like, I ain't got to worry about shit? Like,
that's
you
it.
know what I mean?
Well, we still have to worry about it, but my son is good at that too, because he's been working with animals for his whole life. I get it, but the really cool thing about our shows is that our vendors are so tight that if they see somebody that has something that's out of line, usually the vendor comes and tells them before the customer even says anything, or the vendors will go to each other and say, hey, man, yeah, they're like, Shawn's going to tell you to take that shit off your table. You might as well go ahead and do it. So it's self-policing, because we're all in for the same reason. You know what I'm saying? If the shows are better, they make more money. If they make more money, they have more stock. The shows get bigger and better. And everybody sees in our world that everyone working together makes the whole fucking thing better. And that's something that's been missing for a long time in our industry. It's still missing in our hobby.
Yeah. Oh man, it's funny you said that, because you got to understand, you know, we're our own worst enemy in so many ways, right? And one way we're our own worst enemy is just not coming together on things, you know, and you know, I get it. Like, you know, there's some people who are cool with me, but they won't come on the show because I smoke, and I respect that. That's totally fine, you know. But then on the other hand, you have people who like kind of look at it where I'm going to use this to talk shit about him behind his back or something like that, where it's like, you got to understand there's preference for everything. Like, everything has its preference. But at the end of the day, like, my biggest thing is helping newcomers be on top of their shit on information, you know, because if it's one thing that I needed help with in the beginning, even though social media was already starting getting out there, was like, I didn't really know what fucking information to take. Like, I felt like I had to kiss ass for information, you know, or I had to like be clicky, and I'm not a clicky person. I'm really not clicky. And, but lucky, like, you know, I'm not saying this hobby isn't full of fucking dickheads and people who have their head up their asses. They're out there. But if you dig in between, or if you wait, you'll find the genuine ones, like the ones who are really, really about this shit and will really put you on. And I feel like I've been really blessed with that. Like, I got lucky meeting the right people, even though I fucking I dodged out of the piece of shit ones. But like, I've just been real lucky, man. And I feel like if people just are just happy with the connections they have and they pass it down or just kind of spread it, I mean, bro, like, we're literally all in this. I don't want to be cheesy, but we're all in this together. Like, we really are. Like,
we say that over and over and over again. Part of the problem is that people get up there where they're big shots and they've paid their dues, and then they don't want to help the small guy, but they started just as little as we did, you know? So some of the people I used to idolize and look up to with what I was doing with leopard geckos are the biggest fucking dickbags that I've ever met, and could care less about the animal's health or care or anything, but they're worshipped by thousands of people, you know? So I'm really, I don't pull punches when it comes to shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So, but I've always been a person that you can come to and ask for advice on. I still help a lot of people when they're asking me about leopard geckos and shit. It's changed since I've been out of it for a while. You know, I own one leopard gecko. I own thousands at one time. So
I won't ever praise somebody who just has an amazing collection, because that's just like having the animals are doing all that. What are you doing as a fucking person, right? Like, what are you doing with the animals that you have other than just acting like you're fucking somebody cool? You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like, you know, a lot of people tend to like not be happy when, you know, like, for instance, you have somebody who's been in this for so long wanting a certain animal. Then you have Mr. A and Z over here who comes in and buys that animal within the first year of collecting. That kind of shit causes type of jealousy where it's like, it's just unnecessary. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that those type of collections don't mean shit to me if you're not doing it the right way and not treating the animals right. You know what I'm saying? I could care less
100%.
if you've got $50,000 fucking ball pythons in your rack, as long as you're taking care of them the right way and you're portraying yourself and you're doing good business and taking care of the people who are buying them and helping support our hobby, you're fine. But if you're just a piece of shit that went out and bought a big collection and wants to throw that around and that's not the kind of person that I want to be associated with. So we're really have gotten over the past 6 or 7 years have gotten narrowed down as far as our vendor collection, who we have representing our shows, because that's it. I'm representing them. They're representing me. Like you said, we're all in this together. So the good thing about having a show where we're not as big, you know what I'm saying? We don't get a lot of the stuff. We've turned down some of the big names because I don't really need them there.
Let's go back. So what do you mean by that? Like you turn down people who are really like big vendors, so and so, or who could bring a big crowd, or what do you mean by that?
Yeah, I'm not going to mention names. But
no, I don't need names. I just want if you could just kind of elaborate a little bit what you mean by that.
Yeah, so I mean, I've had vendors, I've had those big companies reach out to me after we got big, after we got to where we're at, where we got a name for ourselves, because we're still growing, man. We're still learning this shit. But I've gotten over the past couple of years some of these big people that we reached out to in the beginning to try to get support from them. Hey, come check this out. We're doing things differently. And they just blew us off. Well, now they want to come back in. But I don't have room for them. We sell out shows 2 years in advance, man. I'm not bullshitting you when I say sell out. We have a certain amount of tables we fit in a venue. And when we open up our 2023 registrations, most of the shows for the whole year, every single show will be sold out for the entire year. So it's hard to get those in. This isn't along the same lines, but I talked to Justin Kabilka at NERBC last year, or the last NERBC.
Yeah.
And because Chase was there, and I said hi to Chase, and went up to Justin and started talking to him, and he had mentioned wanting to come to try one of the Conroe shows, and I literally had to say, I can add you to the waiting list. Like I had 51 vendors on the Conroe waiting list for this show this weekend. 51 vendors, not 51 tables.
Damn.
So, and I can't take somebody like that because Justin is the big dog, but I can't take Justin and put him ahead of everybody that's been there and supported us and been loyal to us this whole time. So I'd rather have those guys.
Damn, respect. I love that. I mean, because they're the ones who are always going to be there for you.
Well, no, he understood that. Of course, I'd love to have Justin.
Oh yeah, Justin.
You know what I'm saying? He's a good guy, but we started out, just barely scraping by and getting these vendors, and we've been busting our asses because it's not just coming to the show and setting up. We're working the whole fucking week on everything, trying to figure out what we're going to do and get people motivated about the show and the advertising. The money we spend on advertising is ridiculous, and I know Rami's probably blowing my budget out of the water, but we spend a lot of money, man. We actually spend a lot of money, and we put more money back into the shows every time we make money. So we're not trying to be millionaires. We're just trying to be happy.
No, I feel you. And what's funny is like I quickly, I came from a fast lifestyle, like money was like, I got it quick. I could get it quick. Just wasn't really the right way, Yeah. It was something I could never leave and let go of. And then I finally did. And then it led me to this, to where I quickly saw how financially beneficial this game could eventually become. Not right away, but if you have the social media skills, the marketing skills, the patience, the understanding on how breeding works and all that shit. My God, and what's crazy is I'm not even thinking of ever doing 100, 200 clutches. That's just bizarre to me. I won't ever go that much. I don't need to do that much. But you don't need to do that much to sustain a cool lifestyle. Meaning I don't need I'm the same way. I do not need to be a millionaire. I just need to be able to eat whatever I want. That's for sure. But,
right. I got you on that one.
Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, man, the animals do so much for me. And I don't know if it's because I've only been doing this for a handful of years, but dude, if I could cop a really fucking rare animal and thrive it and have it sustained, and I could just look at it, that's being rich to me. I feel like I'm already really rich with the animals I have. Just because of the feeling, and I'm talking with emotions, you know what I mean?
No, I get you. I feel you 100% because there's certain projects that I don't breed like that anymore. I have 2 of this and 3 of this and 4 of that. You know what I'm saying? So there's a couple of projects that I'm really, really I've worked with a couple of people at the San Diego Zoo on some of this stuff and trying to get them to reproduce in captivity. That's the shit that's that's cool to me. Is something that Not a lot of
That's
people
sick.
have it, but it's something that's important to me. You know what I'm saying? So
That's sick.
that's what I breed, and I don't breed to sell at my own shows. I don't compete against my vendors. You'll never see me have a table set up against my vendors. I think that's fucking bullshit, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's double dipping to me. The show promoters should never have their own table and sell their own shit at a show to compete.
That is pretty suspect. That's like, I don't know.
And you'd
I
be
mean, are there
surprised
people who
that
do that?
the majority of shows are like that, man.
Wow.
Yep.
Crazy.
The
That's
majority of shows are just like that. So I just it's something I believe in. I think you should support your vendors and let them. You're making money at the door. Make your
It's
money.
their time. Right.
Yeah. We don't charge stupid amounts of money for our tables. We're usually in the hole when we open the doors, man. It's my job to bring people through the door. That's it. Your job to sell the animals.
If we're talking futuristic type shit, could we possibly create me a little mini podcast booth, and I'll fly into Conroe and I'll do some sick ass interviews with some of the sickest vendors? I need any reason to come back to Texas. I'm telling you right now. I love Texas. I'm flying in next week for Arlington.
Yep.
Are you going to be at Arlington?
No, man. We got the shop going on, man. I that used to be my local show. So
The
yeah,
shop.
yeah. I've been at Arlington for a long time. So
how far are you from the Arlington show?
Now I'm 3 hours. Well, I just moved from Dallas area. I was 45 minutes from the Arlington show. So that was my home show for a long time, So I live in Bryan now. My girls are actually going to be going to A&M. So we moved out in the country so
A&M, baby. That's awesome.
Yep. And we got the shop going on, so I'll be busy next weekend, man. I'll be busy for the next 20 years.
You're in it, bro. There's no end in sight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm already busy as shit. I mean, we do like 30 shows a year we put on. Right. And so some fucking guy decided he wanted to open up a pet shop. So I don't know what the fuck's wrong with that guy. So yeah.
Dude, okay, before we get into that, I do want to say, what are the majority type of breeders or vendors do you have at the show, would you say? Like, are you ball python heavy, leopard gecko heavy? Like, what would you say the primary focus is at your shows?
It depends on the show, and honestly, we really, really, really try to balance it. I hate people that say it's just a ball python show. Most of those motherfuckers that say that started off with a ball python. No shit. That's what gets people involved.
Always like that.
It's a ball python, a leopard gecko, a bearded dragon. That's your top three, right? So that's going back to people forgetting where their roots are and where they came from. You know what I'm saying? But so there are some shows that are a little heavier. It just depends on what's available at the time too. Because a lot of the guys that have ball pythons now, the shows were so strong at the first of the year that everybody was selling out of shit. Nobody had any inventory. Right. So if you go to one of our shows, you can ask people who've been there. You can ask. It doesn't matter to me. We really pride ourselves on having a really good variety of animals. Like Conroe is a venomous show. You're going to see a whole section of venomous snakes,
Nice.
And those guys are handpicked by us. They're good vendors. They vet their customers. They do it the right way. And that's a really big liability issue that we have to cover. You know what I'm saying? So I trust those. I trust those guys. But no, I mean it's a good balance right now. But like I said, it is going to depend on the show. There's certain areas where their ball python breeders are heavy. We bring people from all over the place though, so we try not to have too many dry goods. We try not to have too many cage builders. We try not to have too many rack builders, too many feeder people. We try to balance it. So our goal is to make sure that every vendor makes money, not just one or two. So that's the thing is if we had a show, we have had this happen where we've had a show that there was too many vendors. We started out a show, there was too many vendors. The money was spread too thin, so we cut back on vendors. And then the show picked up, and after a couple of years, it started building again. Then we could add those vendors back. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a balancing act to make sure that the customers are happy, the vendors are happy, and if that's the case, then we're happy.
Talking about the hots, selling hots at a show, right? Like, are there regulations as far as like people getting ID'd? Like, is that something that needs to go down, or how's that work?
Yeah,
I've never been a show where there's hots. That's why I asked.
Yeah, in Texas, you have to be 18 or older to buy. But the vendors themselves will vet a customer. It doesn't matter if you're 35 years old. If they don't feel comfortable, if they don't think you're going to be comfortable with this snake or know what the hell you're doing, they're not going to sell it to you. They'll just refuse.
Right.
And but most of the customers that come are probably, I don't know, I'd have to ask those guys. It's probably 75% return business. Those guys are always waiting for them to come and see if they have new,
Right.
Or they reach out and do pre-sales, and they'll drive from out of state. But you have to have permits in the state of Texas. You have 28 days to get them to controlled exotic permit, and that covers the large constrictors and the venomous in the state of Texas. So, but there's really cool shit. But we have very strict protocol at the show too. You can't just go buy a gaboon viper off somebody's table and walk around with it the whole time. Our vendor or their person who's working with them, whenever you're ready, they have to escort you out the door to your car.
I mean, if it's one thing that kind of irks me, man, at shows, and don't get me wrong, I think it's cool, is like when you have that guy walking around with a big snake around his neck. It's like, dude, like, come on, bro. Like,
we've had that happen where customers will come in. We don't allow outside animals either. We don't allow you to bring your outside animals in.
But even the vendor does it too. Like, even though the vendor, I know he's in front of his booth, like it's still like too casual to me. Like it's just, and I've had like a lot of fucking I've had retics, so I've had freak accidents and shit. So I'm just like, what if like little Granny Sally over here is like, terrified of snakes and bumps into one and bam, it's just like, I don't know. I wish people would like, like you said, you buy the snake or the animal, leave the animal in the fucking whatever it's in until you get home.
Yep. And we try to request that, but you know how people are. They want to pull it out and show it off. Yeah. So we had a guy one time at our Slidell show walk in. He had a backpack. We don't check people's bags, man. It's just not cool. So then he goes and posts up in a corner and pulls this freaking like 8-foot retic out and's got it around his neck, covered in mites.
Oh.
And puts a sign out saying he wants to charge $5 for pictures. This is a customer that walked in.
Ooh.
Like, what the fuck? And of course, my vendors immediately tell me, hey, this fucking happening. And I go over there and like make him go out the back door and kick him out and shit. But then we had a guy at Conroe, I think second or third year we were doing Conroe. This guy walks in with a 6-foot caiman across his shoulder like this with his mouth taped. Wants to go in the show. Like, nope. Sorry, dude. Like, no.
People are wild, bro.
They are. We try to tell people not to bring their stuff. Every once in a while, somebody slips in and has something. It's just, it's inevitable. So, but we try to run a clean show, man. We try to make sure that everybody's taken care of, and even after the show, we try to make sure everybody's taken care of. So
what's the total show count a year are you throwing in? I don't know if you already said this.
I think we're doing like 26 next year. We've actually cut back. We lost the Pueblo show. We lost the Kansas City show. Huh?
26. That's a lot of shows, bro.
Half a year, man. Yep.
That's you're right. You're nonstop.
No. And if I'm not working on that show, I'm working on the next show. And during the week, we're, working with vendors and trying to figure out what's going on and travel, and it's crazy. So yeah, we're road warriors for real.
Man, respect to you guys, bro. Now, let me ask you this. I mean, do you have your locations in lock? Like, there's never going to be a Herp show in fucking Utah or fucking X, or, like, you're never thinking about taking the operation to a different state at some point and just seeing how it goes ever?
Well, we're in Texas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma right now. We were in Kansas City, Missouri, and Colorado as well.
Oh, respect.
Yeah, but like I said, we lost those shows. But one venue screwed us over on the size of it. They fucked us over in Pueblo, and packed was a joke. And then Kansas City, they sold the whole venue out from under us. So we were like, fuck it, let's just scale back. Plus, we wanted to spend more time with our family and kind of weed out the shows that the vendors weren't doing so well at. Right. They were kind of just barely hanging on. But we figured we could take those shows out and use that budget that we're spending, all this money that we're spending, to make the shows that are good even better. So that's where we're at right now.
Nice. Well, respect to that, man. I didn't know the grind was that big, bro. Like that's huge respect, because I'm terrified to ever vend a show. This is the way I look at shows for me personally, right? Because I'm all over the place. I want to be where everyone else is at. I like to move around, but then when it comes to like me showing my stuff off, like, I'm never going to want to leave my table. So I'm going to be caught in between, right?
Yeah.
But not only that, like, I just feel like I stress stuff too easy. And if you're kind of a heavy stressor kind of guy, I feel like doing shows is not going to be your best bet right away until you kind of like get it down. I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. I'm not going to say like animals get stolen easily, but it can happen, right?
It happens. Oh, it happens. It
happens, right? And like, I don't take stuff like that easy. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
But it doesn't happen quite often. It doesn't happen. I don't know how often does that something like
I
happen.
mean, I've had shit stolen off my table when I was vending. They walk up with a deli cup, set it down on top of your cup or display, and then pick both up and walk off. Yep, that happens a lot. A lot of it is they work in groups, and we've gotten people arrested at the show. We've actually caught people stealing. We caught like the first or second Conroe show. We caught somebody stealing a rainbow boa from Shawn Bradley's table, red-handed. Wow. My brother caught him. But it does happen, and it's just about paying attention. If you got 10 tables, you got to have enough staff to cover those 10 tables and watch everything. If you've got one or two tables, as long as you're there. The good thing about our shows is if somebody needs to go take a piss or go get something to eat, me or my son are usually behind the table watching their animals. And I usually sell a lot of shit behind people's tables too, actually. I actually do. I sell a lot of fucking animals behind people's tables because I miss it. So when I get back there, I'm all excited and shit. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you right now, if I was going to do it, I would have no choice but to be back behind my table, shaking hands, kissing babies, and just fucking, because I'm a salesman, bro. Like my whole background before any animals was fucking in the sales game. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I just like talking to people when it comes to something I believe in. And I used to I worked for Verizon, so I used to Oh, you did? Yeah. That's so funny. I used to work for almost 11 years. I worked for Verizon Wireless.
I wasn't wireless. I was whenever all the fiber optic stuff came out. I was a network technician out of Dallas here. So I did all the back end stuff and I started the whole Jet Desk thing for installs and shit. That was all my project way back in the day. So yep, I did all the fiber optic network drops when that started. I was part of that project.
I feel like if you're somebody out there who has that fire and that spunk to talk about your animals and that energy, then vending is fucking going to be your go-to, your bread and butter. I feel like, and I feel like as much as I say I don't want to vend or scared, I know at some point when I'm ready, I will end up vending. It's just like, for me, it's like jumping off a cliff. To me,
this is the way you can soften that. So whenever we were vending, my wife would sit behind the table. I was usually the one out in front of the table handing. I mean, people would walk by and I just hand them a fucking leopard gecko. Hey, come check this out. Stupid shit like that, But I would say get somebody that you know and that you trust that works one of these big shows, and go spend a day behind their table. Like you're actually working for them. Go spend a day behind their table. Talk to the customers when they're asking, about animals and stuff. Let them hold animals, do all that shit, and see how it goes. Because that'll help you understand more about what it's like being over there for real, like for the whole time. It's a long haul, man. It's like when a show is really super busy, it goes by really fast. When a show is slow, it drags by. So you have that tendency to want to wander around and go look at stuff, But we try to watch, like I said, we try to look out for each other and make sure that everybody's covered.
That's cool.
But that's pretty much it. Like Conroe, I make an announcement, no shit, in the morning about 9:30. Everybody go piss, because when the doors open,
you're not leaving, motherfucker.
Because you're there, you're stuck till 2 or 3 o'clock, and it's just balls to the wall. Especially if you're by yourself, So it's just a crazy show. It's crazy.
Well, man, let's talk about the next fucking huge step in your life, and adding more stress into what you already have going on. I hope it's good stress, but man, let's talk about your pet store, man. The Herps Pet Shop. Let's talk about it.
So we noticed there was another missing niche in the market where we're at. We're in a big ag town. There's a lot of animal lovers. Our shows that we do there, we've done 2 shows there, even for a college town, have been really, really good. Problem is there's nobody but Petco, PetSmart, and Pet Supplies Plus. And so you can't buy feeders there. They won't sell you a rat or a mouse or anything unless you want to pay like $8 for a fancy pet mouse, Right. So there's no bugs there besides the cup. You know how it is. The big box stores, their markup is insane. They have a lot of overhead. We get it. So I decided let's try to do a shop. And I got the keys like 2 weeks ago, and I've been up there nonstop, and we're actually pushing up the opening to September 28th. But we're going to do it a little different because we're going to take over another 1,200 square foot on the other side in July.
Wow.
That's going to be for workshops and party room and stuff like that. But we have educational rooms set up in the pet shop now where you can interact with. I have a pet wallaby named Grant.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he's about a year old, so he has his own room there, so people can actually go in and take pictures with him and do all that stuff. Then we have a chinchilla room where kids can go sit on the floor and let the chinchillas run around. And we have.
Where'd you get the wallaby from?
One of my vendors actually breeds them. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, Tyler at GBG Exotics.
Oh, it can't be legal in California. Can't be legal.
Probably not. You can't even have fucking like hedgehogs or ferrets or anything there. So,
jeez.
yeah.
I'm sorry, man. I'm a huge mammal fan. So what is that like? Like, can we talk about like how young it was when you got it? Like where does it sleep and all that stuff?
So he was about 6 months old when I got him. He was still in a bottle. He was taking 2 bottles a day. He was still in his pouch. We have a little pouch that we carry around. He can fuck out his pouch. He doesn't give a shit about anymore. But yeah, he's actually in an 8x8 playpen in the middle. We have like our living room is massive. Our living room's probably 2,000 square foot. It's crazy how big it is. But there in the middle of the room is an 8x8 foot playpen, and then he's going to have a room at the shop. And I'm building him an outdoor enclosure too. So, but yeah, he stays in the house, man. My daughter's in the morning when you come out, he chirps at you and tells you, feed me, let me out. I've got videos on my personal page about him, him hopping around the house and shit. Yeah. So
what's his name?
Grant.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's pretty cool, man. He's a Bennett, so he's not going to get really big.
Right.
But we wanted something different at the shop where people could actually be hands-on and interact with something cool like that. So,
that is epic, bro.
In our tortoise room, we actually have we're doing this big image on the wall of scale size of adult tortoises. So anytime anybody wants to come buy a sulcata tortoise, a little baby, we're going to walk them in there and say, this is how big it's going to get. Are you sure that's really what you want? You know what I'm saying? We're not going to be your normal, just put it in a box and send you off with all this bullshit you don't need. We're not doing all the pre-made kits. We're making our own shit. We're selling the product that we use in the shop. And we're only buying from our vendors. I'm not buying from any outside sources. I'm not buying any animals, any supplies, anything from outside sources. Everything's coming from our vendors to support the Herps family again.
I see what you're doing, man. You're taking care of your own. I love that.
Have to.
And it's cycling through. It's like I totally see what you're doing, and basically what you're doing, the whole fucking hobby should be doing.
I wish they would.
It's not that easy, obviously, right?
No,
but I'm just because not everyone has the same mentality and whatnot. But man, I just respect so much what you got going on. And it's because it's not like you're not trying to give anyone else a business. You're just giving people the business that's relevant to what's happening to your mission and what you have going on. Like it just that makes a lot of sense to me, man. Now with the pet shop though, let me ask you this: are you going towards more like where you could come purchase an animal, or you could come experience being around animals? Like what's more the focus here?
It's a little bit of both, actually. And it's going to be educational too. So yes, you can come in and interact with a few animals and things like that. We have a couple of really cool display animals. Bill Stiegel just donated a red chondro. I got the blackhead python. I'm getting a banana pectinata from Carl Vargas. So we have some cool educational animals. Some guy dropped off a 21-year-old male ball python his son got when he was 8 years old the other day. Just
nice.
Because his son went to the military. So, and then we have those rooms, but then we're going to be doing workshops also in the other part where we do like 2 or 3 workshops a month where we bring people in and educate them on how to build the right environment for your animal, how to feed it the right way, what to do, what not to do. So it's educational. You can buy your animals, you can buy feeders, you can buy supplies, but you can also interact with animals. So it's a full experience for everyone. But the biggest key that we keep trying to tell people is it's education. Education. You want people to come back to the hobby. You want people to do it the right way the first time so they don't lose an animal, so we don't lose them from our community. We want to build our community. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly. I mean, because it all starts on what you like. It all starts with you, basically. Yep. You know what I mean? So it makes a lot of sense. Now I have another question, or I guess I could say topic that we could kind of transition into right now. Because, with US ARC, we all talk about like how serious shit is happening, like how it comes out of left field sometimes and you're not expecting it. Right. So, one being Florida. Florida's not in a good place because it's a mess because the way us humans fucking set it to be, right? Like it wasn't the animal's fault. It's the human's fault. Right. Yep. Let me ask you this. How far off, and I don't want to say like, well, I mean, I take it how you want. How far off is Texas compared to Florida when it comes to like animals being loose and shit like that? Like, I mean, how big of a problem do you feel like it is in Texas? And do you feel like it's something that could eventually hopefully get fixed, or like I don't know. What's your opinion on that?
I don't know. I don't think that. I don't see the problem happening as much as I see in the Everglades, because that's a huge port. You know what I'm saying? I know what happened with the hurricane and all that shit with the berms and stuff like that. But in Texas, the biggest thing that we see, I see a ton of fucking people that let their sulcatas get out. Big fucking sulcatas. I never find any grandma down the street finds a fucking 200-pound sulcata in her yard. I'm like, what the fuck? Why can't I do that? You know, so you don't see a lot of stuff like that as far as invasive. I mean, it's coming, but it's not like we have berms crossing the street, you know, every 10 feet. You know, neither does Florida, actually. That's kind of bullshit. Those numbers are big, but somebody just said wild pigs. That's the biggest issue that we have is the wild pigs.
Those things will fuck you up.
Yes,
if I'm understanding right.
Yeah. Yeah, but I have them on the back of my property. My neighbors always want to go hunting, so I have an AR set up just for them. So, but yeah, their hogs they destroy everything, you know. And there's no hunting season for hogs. It's pretty much the Wild West. If you see a hog, fucking shoot it. So, but you don't have as many issues with invasiveness as they do in Florida, and you know the iguanas and stuff like that. Dude, I was just in the Keys a few months ago, right? First time I'd ever been to the Keys. And iguanas are chilling all over the place, right?
Right.
But I really think that there's a lot more scientific studies that can go in to prove these iguanas are not invasive. I believe they were there before fucking people were there, to be honest with you. The problem is that we're building over all the habitat and they're destroying the roads because they're making burrows. So they're saying they're invasive now, you know?
Right.
I mean, think about where iguanas come from, South America, Cuba, all those islands, chained islands, right? Those fuckers can swim for miles. They can float on any debris. It could come from anywhere.
And think about how many come on the boats too.
Exactly. So
yeah,
I think that the iguanas have been there a lot longer than the people are saying. The tegus and stuff like that, I can kind of see more of that in the berms and stuff. I get that, obviously, the berms, but yeah, I mean, they're it's tough because I'm actually against invasive species. I think they should be eradicated or at least replaced, you know, or you know, relocated. But they can't just relocate them. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's bad for the environment. I'm one of those guys that does, you know, I'm an animal lover, but if it's to the detriment of the natural habitat, I'm all for eradication. That's just how I am, you know, and I won't apologize for that. So.
No, respect. Now, what do you think the future holds for the bigger snakes, like the retics and stuff like that?
It's going to get worse, man. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse because we have people that are fucking free handling cobras and shit and letting them go. It's going to get worse because there are people that are posting on YouTube about fucking big snakes biting them in the face and shit and laughing about it. It's going to get worse. That's the shit that these animal rights activists latch onto. They love to see that shit. They don't show the responsible keeper who's taking care of them in proper. Do you ever watch? Do you know who Weston Winter is from Wildfire Retics?
I don't. I can't.
You should look him up. He's an amazing guy. He has some of the biggest enclosures. Weston Winter, WESTONWENN. It's Wildfire Retics.
Wildfire.
He's from Colorado, but he's up. I think he's in Montana now or Wyoming somewhere. He's growing weed and hemp and shit. So
tight. Respect.
No, you would actually like that. This guy he does some videos about how to handle the snakes properly. And he's got some videos of his big monster, full grown ass retics, not the people that say they're 12, 14, these big fucking snakes, but he does it the right way. He's not laying in a pit of them, letting them bite him in his fucking face. That's just stupid.
Oh, he's really doing it. Yeah. I'm looking at his page right now.
Yeah. He's like, I check on his stuff daily. Cause he's like, he could be a motivational speaker, man. That's one of the guys that inspires me to make myself better every day.
And with all due respect, like, dude, I love retics, but being a retic keeper just isn't for everybody. Like, it's not fucking somebody where, like, just because you like an animal, you should have it. It's like having a tiger or something. Like, I'm not joking. Like, dude, I learned that the hard way, bro. Like, I'm telling you, and I'm, you know, as much as I did not want to sell fucking 12 retics, I had to get rid of all my mainland retics just because, like, I knew I wasn't capable of it. Like, only because my focus was elsewhere, you know, like this guy here, if you look at his account, it's all retics. Like, this is his fucking thing. Like, his thing is retics. And
Yeah.
this is why I feel like if you're going to be a retic keeper, you better be at like at your fullest extent of, you know, you being the best keeper you can be. Because look how big these fucking animals are, bro.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
this is
17
humongous.
foot, 17 foot on that one, man.
And you've been to
But
this guy's place, obviously, right?
I've never been to his place. He came and vended a couple of our shows. He's one of those guys that I've talked to and I look up to. Not in Wyoming. Somebody said not in Wyoming. Maybe he's in Montana. I don't know. He's growing hemp somewhere. Is he in Utah? Tyler, I think Tyler said he's in Utah now. But he just recently moved out of Denver area. So, yeah, he's one of the guys, man. If you follow him, just
Jesus,
he does it right. He's legit. But that's the thing is if we keep allowing this other shit to happen, let the media latch onto that shit. They don't latch on to anything positive about our hobby. They don't see that we're raising money for the Autism Spectrum Network, or we have a Domino Miles scholarship fund set up for one of our friends that got killed in a car wreck that was a vet. They don't follow any of that shit. You know what I'm saying? They don't follow the Herps Family Foundation. We've donated like $20,000 to help people just get on their fucking feet. You know what I'm saying? They don't follow all the shit that USARC is doing to help people. This guy right here, Jason Royer, if you ever get a chance to go talk to him, he was in Williamson County, I believe, and about 4 or 5 years ago, the county wanted to do an entire ban on ball pythons. Phil and the attorneys from USARC came down and fought their asses off to get it overturned and won. But you don't hear about that shit.
Wow. Respect to that guy.
Yeah. But until we change the way we do things, until we educate people on the right way to do it, and we get rid of all the bullshit that is out there, it's never going to happen, honestly. They're going to still – likes and you're a YouTuber, you understand marketing and monetization with YouTube and your stuff is how a lot of people make their money. But if we keep supporting the people who could give a shit about our hobby, they just want to make it because that's how much money they're making. That's the people we need to start ignoring. That's the people we need to start unsubscribing to. We need more positive shit. You know what I'm saying?
I don't want to dip into specifics, but like there are some regrets of me becoming a YouTuber, because it opened my eyes on why some motherfuckers are YouTubers. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about the ones, and like, you know, you can take it for you want. Like, I hear people bitch about how I only shoot for likes and whatever. What the fuck? I don't care, whatever, you know. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not setting terrible examples unless you think smoking weed's a bad example. We'll fucking take it for what you want. But like, there's people out there deliberately doing the most dumbest shit. And even if it's a clickbait, like clickbaits don't help. Like, I feel like that's like, it's just too much just to get you that extra amount of money each month on your YouTube channel, which I feel like just because they're older and shit, they just don't give a fuck about the next generation. They don't care about what the younger people are going to have to go through or whatnot. And, you know, it just really opened my eyes to a lot of things, you know, and I'm not even close to you talking about Barcheck. I support Barcheck so much because Barcheck does ride that fine line when it comes to YouTube and shit like that. But the guy is the most educational fucking motherfucker I've ever met. And he's somebody who's sustaining one of the nicest reptile zoos in the United States, hands down. Okay.
Yeah, I've met Brian a few times. I've talked to Brian. I was going to sell geckos to Brian years ago, and Brian was getting into leopard geckos. I've spent time around Brian.
Right.
And love him or hate him, I don't agree with everything he does. I think if you get to know the real Brian, absolutely, he's one of those guys that you could talk to for hours and hours and hours and learn something still. But I think that this is more geared towards the shit that went on with the Carolinas, with the Cobra. Now we had a Cobra get out in fucking Texas. Like,
yeah,
that's irresponsible keeping. You know what I'm saying? But those guys in the Carolinas were known for that shit. You know, I'm not even going to mention their name. I don't even want you to look it up. Those guys were complete douchebags, and they still are. Don't care if you like them or not. They shouldn't be free. They should. If they want to free handle shit, perfectly fine. Do that shit in your own home, but don't post about it just to get likes and, you know, people subscribing to you, because you're ruining the hobby for yourself and everybody else. That's just not being smart. You know, so
I think the unfortunate thing with, like, because it's like being a retic keeper, right? Like, it's not for everybody but there are people who are doing it right. And what I mean by that, there are venomous keepers that are doing shit right. Even if you agree with handling or not handling, some are just meant to do it and they're good at it. But the thing is, You got other motherfuckers who think I could be that person. That's me.
Yep.
Totally. Oh, YouTube? Fucking nothing. Let me create this. God damn. I've got no attention. I got no attention at all. So what do? You start kissing your rattlesnake, or you start doing something fucking Jurassic. You know what I mean? And that's the problem, man. You know, like at the end of the day, we have all social media platforms to blame because everybody wants to be somebody. And if they don't know how to be that somebody, they do something Jurassic or could just do something to diminish what everyone else is doing just to fucking look cool. So
yeah. And honestly, without social media, I wouldn't have a business. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a necessary evil for real.
We need it. Like we don't have a choice. Like, bro, like I was back in my, you know, what's crazy is like, if I probably would have, you know, like I was in the music industry back like before any of this. Right. And it was like when Instagram and shit was barely like going, but it was still popular and it was a way to network. I never used it. And it probably kind of maybe, you know, not to say it had a huge effect on my career or anything, but still like I had no purpose of using social media. I didn't want to use it. I wanted to do everything on my own. But at the end of the day, like you got to network. Like you have to put yourself out there if you want to eventually start making moves and go into the next level. And none of that clicked until I got into the animals, until I got into the reptiles. That's when it all made sense. And that's when I realized how important utilizing social media is going to be the fucking goddamn gateway to everything you want to put out there. You know what I mean? Like plain and simple, you know, and that's just how it is. You got to utilize it.
My biggest budget for advertising is Facebook. I mean, I'm spending $6,000-$7,000 a show just on Facebook advertising.
Damn.
So I mean,
and you see number, and the thing is, you can actually see numbers of what you're getting from that ad, right? Like, there's actually like shows how many likes, how many views, how many people purchase tickets, all that shit, right?
Yeah, like for Conroe right now, I think we've spent almost 6 or a little over 6 right now, and we're right at 1 million impressions and like 400,000.
1 million impressions? God damn.
Yeah. Here, hang on.
That's a lot.
See if I can pull this up. Right at real close to it, I think. This is just one ad though. Let me look this up real quick. Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're good. Take your time, bro. You're good.
I can show you.
Shout out to all the viewers. Shout out to everyone tapping in. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. That like button from my man Shawn Gray. Please.
Yeah, so let's see. We are at for Conroe right now, this ad, I have this ad running. I am $359,587 reach, 907,011 impressions. That's for one ad for this show. So that's a big, and that's a demographic within about a 200 to 300 mile radius of the show. So because I've narrowed it down, I watch all the algorithms and all that shit, and every day I'm on my phone for about 2 hours every morning, 2 or 3 hours every morning, just working on ad stuff, just changing everything up. So
it's the whole like there's so many things that take involved in as far as like you getting shit done to how you need to get it done. It's crazy.
Yep. And we're always learning. We're always like I bounce ideas off other show promoters all the time, man. Like I run stuff by all of them, and people reach out to me and ask me, and I look at everything. If they find something they think will help you or help their business and ask me about it, I may try it. You know, and I've tried everything from billboards to print to everything you can think of. Now Morph Market is actually sponsoring us. That's a big deal. So John's an awesome fucking dude, and we're gonna we're gonna be sponsoring them once he gets it all ready to go. But yeah, so I mean that to me is cool that we got that kind of notice in the community. You know what I'm saying? Like that people actually realize that we're actually trying to do something good. You know, and I wish more people would fucking do it. I wish more people would understand there's a different way of doing this. It's not just about fucking popping tables up in a room and opening a door and collecting money at the door. It's not about that at all.
I feel like the biggest thing that you guys have going on for you right now is the consistency of the community that you're building. Like you're not like it's like you're already on to something. Like it's been there, but like it's now just the ball is starting to just roll bigger and bigger. And hopefully all this can do is spread to the other shows or spread to anyone else, just to kind of remind how like we're all in this together. Like, you know what I mean? Like we got to take care of our own and we are our own. Like we are all our own fucking, we're all in this together. Like I said, plain and simple.
we are.
So it's amazing what you guys have going on. So mad respect on that. Now let
But
me ask you. Good.
It's not just me though. This is the thing is, I take what my vendors say to heart. If they say, "Hey, this isn't working right, we should try this," I'm all ears, man. Because you said, we're all in this together. The vendors and the show promoter and customers. We have customers come to us and said, "Hey, have you thought about this?" "Oh, fuck no, I never thought about that. Let's try that." So it is not just the reptile community. Our customer base is so much more educated now. They are so much more educated than whenever I was back vending. They know so much more, and there's a bunch of misinformation, but there's a lot more people that are coming to these shows and are buying animals online that are really, really, really educating themselves before. You have to listen to your customer base, man. You have to understand where they're coming from. If you just blow them off, you may miss something very, very, very important. So they may not have a $500,000 collection. They may have one pet ball python, but something that they do differently might change the entire game for someone.
It's so true that you say that. Oh man.
Yeah. You got to be open. You got to be open-minded. You got to be open-minded. You got to be able to listen. You still have to be able to lead. I still have things I have to do, and I still have to run my show as a business. But these are my friends. These are my family, man. I'll do anything for them. They're like blood to me. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
And we really do take that to heart. There's nothing we won't do for someone. And I don't care if I can't pay my fucking bills. Somebody's bill's getting paid. So
respect.
We've always been that way, and we'll always remain being that way. So,
damn, fucking nailed it. When's the Herp Show, Austin? When's that going down? Shout to homie Bill.
That's December 4th and 5th. Yeah, that's another thing that happened this week. We lost our fucking venue that we were in for 4 years. Another one, and so we took off. Nobody even knew about this, but we took off. What's today? Fucking Thursday? Yeah, we took off yesterday morning, from Bryan. We drove all the way to Austin at like 6 a.m. Looked at like 8 venues yesterday. Found one. Signed on it today. Put our deposit down. Then drove all the way to Conroe this morning from Austin. And then we went and set up tables today at the venue in Conroe, and I'm doing setup tomorrow with all the electrical and shit. So we had to get a whole new venue for Austin in days, besides working on the shop and running the show and doing all the other shit. So
right. Hell yeah. Now, let me ask you this real quick, Shawn. I had Bob on a few weeks ago, and we were talking about Daytona show and how, Daytona last minute was kind of got hit with like a mask mandate where like you had to wear a mask inside the venue type thing. Mm-hmm. Have you had any kind of like warnings or anything like that right there since like recently for you? Like how's the whole COVID thing over in Texas from what you can tell? Like, I mean, is it I just want to hear from you.
It's guarded right now. Like Texas, we have a governor who, love him or hate him, sometimes he's right on, sometimes he's a complete dipshit. Right now he's being a complete dipshit about some things, but we're not going to get into that. I don't want to get into that politics. But he said that they won't ever mandate masks again. Now, down to the individual business level, it's one of those things where we leave it up to the venue. I'm taking that out of my hands. If the venue, like we're in a government-owned building this weekend, it's owned by the city. If they say, hey, you have to wear a mask, we have to wear a mask. You know what I'm saying? So you won't get to the point here in Texas where there will be like mandatory vaccinations or anything like that. But it's kind of the Wild West in Texas, honestly. Louisiana is a little more strict on some things. Oklahoma is pretty much like Texas. Colorado was super strict. And it's funny, you can tell which ones are red or blue states. It's crazy. I hate to say that, but it really is like that. It really is.
Oh, you can tell a red or blue state just by the parking lot at a grocery store. Like
that's
it's
true.
like
that's true, especially here in Texas. But I'm not one of those people who wants to tell people what they have to do with their own bodies. Period. You know what I'm saying? I have my own shit to worry about. So
I mean, like, look, listen, not everyone gets a flu shot. Then don't get a flu shot. It's like I feel like it's like it's your fucking life, your choice. Like the whole like how men shouldn't be making women body laws, which I respect that. Well, let me. I don't want to get too deep in that, but like for any woman who's upset about a man making a law for their own bodies, which I would be pissed too. Well, you can't be fucking pissed off if somebody decides they don't want to wear a mask. You know what I mean? Like that's their fucking health, and that's what they want to do. Like, you know what I mean? I personally, like, you go based off what you feel in your own health, and I don't know.
No,
I don't wanna fucking
yeah,
get-
like you said, I don't want to get into that either. I don't want to get into politics, but that's
Not
just
my
how
department.
yeah, if the other people, if the venue we're at says, hey, you have to have a mandate, or if the state says there's a mask mandate, we're going to follow it. You know what I'm saying? That's just how we are. And if I have to wear a mask, I have to wear a mask. Suck it up. I have a business to run. I have people's families that are relying on me to bring people in to feed their families. You know what I'm saying? So I have a lot of weight on my shoulder to make sure that we can do shows. We're considered essential business in Texas, so because it's pet retail basically. So
Right.
we're okay on that, but we've gone through it, man. We were down for 3 months when COVID first hit. I was actually sick before that happened. I actually got COVID back in January of last year after a show, and so we didn't know what it was then. I didn't know what it was. I tested positive for the antibodies later, but the thing is here though is that they pretty much. For a while, we started back up in Conroe in June of last year, and that's when it started. We started having number restrictions and spacing of tables and mask mandates in certain towns and certain areas and certain counties. But right now, we're playing it by ear. We're waiting to, everywhere we go is different. We had to know all the COVID regulations in every venue we've ever gone to, and so we just stay on top of it.
Respect. Now, Shawn, I have a wrap-up question before we get into the hot seat questions, okay?
Okay.
I'm curious to ask you this because you're somebody who's really involved into what I feel like is the huge future of the industry, because without shows, I don't know what the fuck would ever happen. But with that being said, man, what would you have to say to anyone who's new into this, right? Anyone who's new into this, kind of trying to find a way where they fit in. And when I say that, either project-wise or, morph-wise, whatever the fuck. But just kind of looking to start somewhere. Like what's your for somebody who's been in this for so long, what's your advice to somebody who's new into this game and is just looking to maybe build something off what they have?
Don't follow the crowd. Do something that you enjoy. Work with an animal that you can work with every single day and not lose interest in. That's
Right.
something that makes you happy. It doesn't matter if it's the new hot thing. Start small. Find what really you're in tune to. To me, it was varanids and geckos and things like that. I love snakes. I have snakes. I love them. I don't want to breed them. You know what I'm saying? I'll own them and possess them. I think they're beautiful. I'm an arachnophobe and I have a fucking tarantula. But find something that you actually can enjoy working with every day. If it's not enjoyable for you, it feels like a job too much. You know what I'm saying? And it is a job. It's work. But
Right.
find something that you actually like. Breed the morph that you like. Don't give a shit about what other A and B person is selling on Morph Market or online or at shows. Don't look at it like that. Don't look at it. One breeder told me one time, the sad thing about the snake industry is we're selling the skin of an animal. That's all you're selling. You're not selling an animal. You're selling the skin of that animal because that's the only thing that fucking matters to some people.
Skin that moves.
Skin that moves.
Okay.
But you see what I'm saying, though? You get the euphemism in that. So
yeah, I hear you.
I've always told people, and they've come to me and asked me what to breed. What should I breed? What's hot? Dude, it's cyclical. You can watch the trends in breeding and leopard geckos, and you can know when the high points are going to be in the season and the low points in the season. I used to watch that shit and graph that shit. I have fucking college rule notebooks with graphs in it showing when I could start breeding my shit and certain things. Because everybody was going to get out of the fucking hobby. That's how most people are. They go in and buy big collections, and then they sell them all out, and then they don't want to do anything anymore. So I was watching these trends of breeding cycles and things like that, and when they're going to be hot and when they're going to be cold, lay off of breeding when you knew there was going to be a dip, pick up your breeding before it started spiking. There's a lot of science behind this, honestly, man. But if you're not breeding something and producing something that you don't enjoy, nobody else is going to enjoy it because they don't see the love and the work that went into it, So that's my best advice.
Yeah, man. Solid as fuck. And what do you know? He's from Texas. Texas just doesn't mess around, bro. That's what I mean. I love Texas so much. But bro, what an amazing hour and a half. Thank you so much. I gotta hit you with the hot seat questions. Everybody has to go through the hot seat questions.
Cool.
And you're best to not explain every answer that you may have. I understand sometimes you may need to explain. It's best if you don't. We just power through them. Okay, so let's see how this goes down for the homie Shawn Gray. You ready? Hot seat questions?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Hot seat questions for Shawn Gray. Frozen thought or live?
Live.
A cut or no cut?
No cut.
Big flexor or no flexor?
I can't hear you.
Big flexor or no flexor?
No idea what you're talking about.
Do you flex or do you not flex?
Oh, fuck no, I don't flex. I'm fat.
Oh, bro, based off your shows, I think you flex. And what I mean by flex is like displaying something that has a lot of power behind it. You know,
Okay.
flex is the term, right? Like, you know, you show a picture of a snake. That's a nice flex. You know what I
I'm
mean?
old
Does that
too,
make...
so you got to remember that shit. I'm fucking
I
old.
got you.
But
Trust
I
me,
know,
there's a
I know
reason
what you're talking about. So
sports or no sports?
sports,
Baseball or football?
football.
Van Halen or Sammy Hagar?
Oh fuck.
Come on, John, you got this.
Van Halen.
Yeah, here we go. That's what I like about, man. Eminem or Machine Gun Kelly?
Eminem.
All right, respect. White wine or red wine?
Red.
Tequila or whiskey?
Tequila.
Nice. Little word association. First thing to come to mind: milk,
Cows.
cocoa,
Chocolate.
stuck shed,
I didn't hear you.
stuck shed,
Mineral oil.
mites at a show.
Everyone.
So true. This guy is so on point, dude. I got it. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. Instagram trolls.
Fuck them.
Nice. This is important to me, man, because I know how heavy you are in the Facebook world. And when I say heavy, a lot of people respect the shit out of you. But to me, Instagram is the future. I want to hear it from you. If you have to get rid of one, and I mean one forever, are you going to get rid of Facebook or are you going to get rid of Instagram?
I have to say Instagram.
Oh, respect. Honestly,
But
I'm not gonna,
I'll qualify that. I haven't had time to build my Instagram. I actually hired a friend of mine to run my Instagram, and he's working on it now. So I haven't really had time to build the Instagram that I wanted to build. So like Facebook's built my business, honestly. I mean, honestly, I've spent so much on Facebook. It's what's made my business real. And so, but I'm getting there with Instagram.
I'll tell you what, man, as much as I talk shit about Facebook, have I deleted it? Nope. I can't delete it because there's some respectful ass motherfuckers that hang out on Facebook. And because of that, I am forced to hang around, and I don't mind. Like I said, Facebook does have its positives. You do see things posted in Facebook that you don't see on Instagram, which lead into many other things. So at the end of the day, man, you are the good part of Facebook that I could bring to the crap talk and not even care that you choose Instagram to be deleted over Facebook. But I got to say, man, I highly respect
Are we just saying fuck Twitter? All in all, fuck Twitter.
Twitter? Oh, I don't. Okay, Twitter. Too political. Too, yeah, and then fucking whatchamacallit, TikTok. Too fucking commercial. Too fucking corny. No. It's just like I don't. Like I don't do all that shit, bro. Like I don't step dance with my animals. I don't do any of that, bro. Like I just no disrespect. There's some TikTokers really killing it. It's just not me.
It's not me either, man. Vine is the same fucking way. I did Vine. And people probably don't even know what the fuck Vine is, but Vine is where TikTok actually came from. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
But yeah, I mean, it's all a tool, though. You know, use the tools that are in front of you. If you're using those tools to make a positive influence on the rest of the world, man, do your fucking best. That's all I say.
Yep. And I will say, man, thank you so much again for flexing Texas tough, man. You are a good representative of what's going on in Texas.
Thanks, brother.
Like I said, you had a lot of heavy Texas hitters in the building. You had Patrick Holmes, Bill Stiegel. You had Focus Cube Habitats. You have Hannah Banana up in the building. But I'm just saying, man, what do you have to, before you dip out, what do you have to say to all your supporters out there? More importantly, all the people who've been your shows, the people who are supporting the Herp movement. What do you have to say to everyone out there?
I couldn't be here without those guys. Those guys are my heart. Like our vendors truly are what makes us tick and what makes us push harder every single day. You know what I'm saying? The good or bad, because I've talked to them all. They don't bullshit me. They tell me if they have a good show, they tell me if I have a bad show, they tell me if I'm being an idiot, or if I'm doing something good, and I keep working on it. So for real, when I say Herps family strong, we fucking mean it, dude. We really are. We take care of each other. That's what it's about. That's what the community really needs to understand, is that it would be a lot better for all of us if more people were that way. And then Real quick, you said Focus Cube was on here. I don't know if it was Ashley or Steven. They're actually building me a custom countertop for the shop.
Yeah.
Dude, I've seen the rough drawings of it. It's an Ackie enclosure. I'm actually gonna put my pair of Ackies in it at the counter. It's gonna be fucking sick.
Oh my God. Hey, yeah. Before we can sign off here, man, I gotta say Focus Cube Habitats is definitely one of the newer like style of enclosures that got me so excited to be in this hobby, because man, I'm telling you, like, if it's one thing that I used to stress all the time with the animals and stuff that I was like building, like, it's just moving around things. You can move around a fucking Focus Cube Habitat enclosure like it's nothing. You know what I mean? And not only that, it just looks so damn clean and professional. Like
and they're good people.
And they're good people. Ashley and Steven are the shit. They are 100% good people.
They've gotten too big for us, though. They can't even vend us anymore. They're so fucking busy. They can't even vend shows anymore. So
I thought I was going to, I can't even
shot at them.
I'm not disappointed too much, you know, because I'm not going to see you at Arlington, or I'm not going to see them. I thought I was going to see them too, but they're not. You guys are both just too busy. You got too much going on.
Yeah,
respect. But I can tell you what, man, I am going to make it to a Herp show one day. You could count on that. I could, you know, especially if you're going to have people like Bill Stiegel vending. Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah, Bill's cool.
I am there.
I love Bill.
But listen, you have a wonderful night. You have a great show this weekend. Please be safe with everything that you do, man. And I will be in touch. Oh, one last thing, Shawn.
Sure.
When can we ever get you out to a West Coast show again, just to hang out? Is you think that's ever feasible, or are you just too busy?
Honestly, I went when it was still Pomona, like 2 years ago, January. Actually, it's funny is because I went out there right after they legalized recreational in California. So there's like no dispensaries anywhere. So I went to Pomona and hung out for a few hours. I got there early. I got a vendor pass from one of my buddies out there and hung out early and left and drove down to San Diego. So I didn't get to spend a whole lot of time on the show, but I saw him bussing fucking people in from the parking lot. So yeah, I'd like to come out and see. I know Rami's in Anaheim now because he had the same shit. His venue fucked him over. So
right. Yeah.
I'd like to go check that out. I've never made it to Tinley, man. It's always a conflict. I've always got some shit going on. So of course cool. I want to make it to Tinley, but I'd love to come out again, man. It just timing right now, man. I got my own shit I got to worry about. Push forward, hustle till your haters ask if you're hiring.
Every day. That's what I'm talking about, baby. All right, man. Listen, go enjoy the time with your family. Thanks for hanging out here at the Trap, man, and huge support on this side of the fence. So keep going, man, and I will eventually run into you at some day at one of these shows, and we'll chop it up. Have a good night. Shawn Gray, ladies and gentlemen, Shawn Gray.
Love you guys.
All right, man. See you later.
Never.
What a guy. Woo! Texas, you never disappoint. If any of you are attending the Herp show this weekend, let me know how it is. Really curious. Maybe might show up to the December one if I can. I don't know. I got a lot going on in December. Secret stuff. Matt Summers knows what I'm talking about. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. Texas, if you were in the building, which I know you were, thank you so much. I will see Texas next week at the Arlington show, NARBC. I am coming for you. God, I'll be with the homie Matt Summers. There'll be some other homies in the building. And yeah, man, thank you so much. Like I said, appreciate all the support. If this was your first time tapping in, before you leave, hit the subscribe button. That way you're on top of every single Trap Talk I come out with every Thursday, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I have Trap Talk, Trap Clip Tuesdays that come out. And I am starting to come out with my vlogs again. That's right. You heard correctly. I am dropping vlogs every motherfucking Friday starting tomorrow. And this vlog is about my first clutch of the season. Super GHI clutch, baby. Unfortunately, most of them are sold. But yeah, I will check you guys out next week. And oh yeah, Anaheim show. What the fuck? Are you going to go to Anaheim? Drop a comment. Let me know who's going to Anaheim. Let's link up. Let's smoke tough. You know I'm going to be packing some heat. That's for damn sure. You guys just have a great night. I'm going to go get some food. Mexican food. You know, already know I'm going to go do my burrito thing. And yeah, man.